According to the Endangered Species International, out of the 45,000 animals that we have tracked and kept up with over the past years, 905 of them are now extinct. 121 in just the last 10 years. And there's 17,000 that are on the verge of extinction. That's not including the thousands and millions of other animals that we can't get to, we don't have access to, or there's no way to track. If we could keep up with every animal on the planet, these numbers would be a lot higher. This is why we need zoos. This is why we need conservation groups to protect these animals, because it's our fault that these animals are dying. It's our pollution, it's our habitat destruction that is pushing these animals to the verge that they're not going to be around anymore. Not for our kids to see, not for our grandkids to see. We may not even see them next year. Let's take the black-footed ferret, for example. In 1981, they were thought to be extinct until a small group were found in Wyoming. There was only 18 left by 1985. The main reason these animals were dying is because we were out there killing prairie dogs, which is their main prey. So as their food source went down, their numbers went down. So we took those remaining 18 and brought them into breeding programs. The Louisville Zoo has one of the top breeding programs for these animals today. There are 250 inbreeding programs across the United States, and we have released more than 800 back into the wild. Or let's take the California condors, for example. According to the San Diego Zoo Institute for Conservation Research, there was only 22 of these birds left in the late 80s. Their numbers were dwindling because of habitat destruction, pollution, poaching, even lead poisoning. We thought these birds were a nuisance, so we tried to kill them. So we caught the last 22 of these birds and brought them into captivity. Now, when you bring animals into captivity and you want to release them back into the wild, you have to have a very strict human to animal contact so that they do not become dependent on animals. So for these birds, puppets were made so that the keepers could feed the birds without using their own hands. In the 1990s, we started releasing these birds back into the wild. Now there are over 200 flying free out there. Or the golden lion tamarin, which is a small monkey. They only get about this big. They're mostly in the Brazilian rainforest. In the early 70s, when we were destroying their rainforest, there was less than 70 left in the wild. So we brought a group of them over and put them into breeding programs as well. And now there are more than 1,600 out left in the wild. But that doesn't end there because we are still destroying their habitat. So you can ask what we should do about this. Well, there's a lot of things you can do. The first thing is don't bash these zoos or conservation groups for bringing these animals into captivity. You may not like that we are bringing these animals in, but it's our fault that we have to. It's us who are killing these animals and destroying their habitat. So it's our fault that we even need to think about bringing animals into captivity to breed. But support these zoos and support these conservation groups because they're trying to do what's best for the animal. They're trying to make it to where we can see these animals for years and years to come. So you may disagree with the breeding, or you may disagree with the captivity part of it, but don't bash the breeding part of it. Because that's what we need to keep these animals around. We need to bring these animals in. We need to breed them and release them back into the wild. Another thing you can do is do research. See what companies you are buying things from that are killing these animals. One of the main things is Oreos. Oreos use what's called palm oil, and that comes from these rainforests. So we're destroying these rainforests, which are putting orangutans, tapirs, babirusa hogs, all of these different animals we are putting out because we need these oils to make our food and things like that. So do your research on the products you are about to eat and support your zoos.